Hello, Internet! My name is Catherine Barsonistas, and you are watching the Gluttonous Geek Presents Munchies and Minis, my weekly cooking show, well, mostly weekly, where I make recipes inspired by various tabletop role-playing games such as Dungeons & Dragons, Shadowrun, and Pathfinder, and in today's episode, Tiny Taverns by Gallant Knight Games. If you've ever played D&D and, you all meet in a tavern and everything, you're going, you know what? We should just run a tavern for a while. Tiny Taverns has that for you if that's what you want to do. With magical creatures, running their own medieval fantasy-style tavern. This is actually not the first time I've made a recipe based off this RPG. I've actually made two others, actually both for Munchies and Minis. The first one I've made was for a spicy hippogriff wings, which I basically made turkey wings. God, did I smoke them? Maybe? I can't remember. I think I roasted them and did kind of a medieval spice sort of buffalo sauce with. The second one was for cave slime compote, which I made a wine-based gelatin with pears in it. And today's recipe is also from the back of the book at the magical food section, the grilled Cockatrice Sosaties with the Remoulade. Now, if you don't know what a Sosatee is, don't worry, you're probably, in a very large majority, especially if you live in the United States like I do. Sosatee is a type of kebab from, I want to say, South and West Africa, where you basically marinate chicken or lamb, more commonly lamb actually, in a mixture of tamarind juice, curry leaves, and pulverized onion, among some other things. Then you also, after you marinate it for a couple of hours, you then skewer it on some, skewers with some dried apricots that you've had soaking so they don't, go all raisiny on you. Obviously, we're not going to be marinating for these several hours. However, we are going to be marinating this for at least 30 minutes. That is why we're not only making this recipe today, we're going to be making one of my blog post recipes that's going to be coming up. It's based off the game Where the Water Tastes Like Wine, where it's a Depression-era story game where you get into a wager with this kind of devilish spirit, and you lose, and as punishment, you have to wander the entirety of the United States collecting stories, telling stories, and your life and job is done on this earth if you happen to, finish it. I know, that doesn't really sound like a punishment to me because I love stories, but thing is, I'm going to be making a kind of a casserole in a skillet, based off of, the Midwestern hot dish, which is kind of that's a whole new history in itself. I could talk about that, but we're going to wait until I get to that point because you obviously want to see me grill up some chicken with apricots. Or as you see, Cockatrice with some apricots. I'm going to go ahead and read the description from Tiny Taverns on this dish. Grilled Cockatrice Sosaties with Remoulade. This dish takes advantage of the cockatrice's nature as a chimera by using both the tail, which is reptilian, and the breast meat, which is similar to chicken. Chunks of tail and breast meat are marinated in a sauce of pulverized onions, curry leaves, tamarind juice, and other spices, then skewered, alternating between tail, breast, and chunks of dried apricot. The skewers are then grilled until done and served with a remoulade made with fresh aioli and capers. Obviously, I already mentioned chicken. You technically could mix in alligator tail meat in with this recipe. Just do about half, a pound of chicken breast and a pound of alligator tail meat. I, however, am not doing that because gator meat is expensive, and I just received notice that I'm getting laid off last week, so sorry we can't be a little bit more exotic tonight, but it cooks kind of like chicken. In fact, if you're using gator meat, I would suggest letting it marinate longer than you're going to be doing, at least how long I'm going to be doing with tonight's recipe. So keep that in mind. But since I've mentioned it, let's go ahead and get started, right? So first, you're going to need a giant red onion like so. Then we're going to peel and cut that sucker. I'm not going to go too much though, because we in fact are going to be using a food processor to pulverize this onion up. Little known fact, or you would know this if you happen to watch Food Wars, onion acts as a great meat tenderizer. So, just gonna peel that here. Actually, make it a little easier on myself. Quarter it, and then peel it. There we go. I'm just gonna cut off that little end right there because I don't need it. There we go. And bam. Take that thin little layer off there. And there we go. And normally I wouldn't be taking this little end off if I was going to be dicing this. However, since this is going to be thrown into the food processor anyway, I'm just not going to bother. Alright, so we got that. Just going to pop open my food processor. Out the blade. Change cameras. See what I'm doing. Bam, bam. There we go. Onion. Onion and garbage. Okay. There we go. Okay. Let's see. We are also going to be needing about 4 cloves of garlic. Just going to tear all that apart. Really wish I'd kept a little bag. Let's just get a grocery bag here for scraps. Go. And sincerely hope this garlic is fresh, because I swear every time I've been going to the grocery store, all the garlic I've been picking up has not been fresh or just about to decay on me. I've really been hating it. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And how much am I gonna need for that vagrant's hot dish? I'm gonna need about 4, because apparently that's my standard minimum of garlic in dishes, because I freaking love garlic. Just kind of for the par, for the standard, considering I'm half Romanian. And there's a reason why the whole, that's an old clove. Shouldn't be in there. I just bought you 2 days ago. What the heck? Alright. There's a reason why the whole garlic repels vampires thing, and it's kind of you're Romanian and you don't like garlic? Well, you must be a vampire, right? I mean, just, who doesn't like garlic? And I seriously hope these aren't bad. Okay. I just might need a different grocery store. 2, 3, and 4, and we shall see. Just gonna, I need this for my other dish. I'm just gonna pop that off. Quickest way of peeling garlic, by the way, put your blade on top of it like so, hold your knife steady, smack it. There we go. Haha. Alright. Just gonna go ahead and add that to the mortar and pestle for my other dish. That way I'm not having to do this twice. And this one can go in the food processor with my onion. There we go. It's one each. There we go. Well, technically that's large enough to count as 2 cloves. But I like garlic, so it's gonna count as a clove for this particular dish. Whew, alrighty. How's that doing? Whew. But yeah, this week's been... The last week was interesting, though it ended out pretty well. I got to see my good friend James Stiver from the Loot and Dagger podcast and Stellar Arcanum. And my parents stopped by for a short bit to say hello, take us out to lunch, and also bring me this beautiful thing. They had recently taken cooking classes. My dad had taken a cooking class baking class over at John C. Campbell School in North Carolina. And apparently one of the people that taught the class makes these bread cloches, terracotta bread cloche that you can rise and bake your dough, bake bread in. I just think it's really pretty. Looking forward to using that, as well as, baking bread in it. Well, I mean, obviously, because that's what it's for, baking bread in it, but also using it in photos, because that's what I do with the blog. Okay. Smack, smack, smack. And bam. And let's hope this one's good, because it's looking a little not so... Oh, it's fine. Huh. Okay, noted. All right. That goes in the food processor. All right. Whew. All right, so a few things that you're probably not going to have easy access to. Those things are tamarind juice, which, yes, you can make your own tamarind juice, tamarind water with tamarind or with tamarind concentrate. However, it does take a little while for it to steep. Also, I could not find any at the grocery store. Yay, supply chain issues. So, yeah, we are going to be using a substitute for tamarind juice, which is actually a mixture of lime juice as well as water and brown sugar, where it gives that sourness that you're going to get with tamarind, as well as a bit of sweetness and caramel, like kind of caramel flavor that you sometimes get with that as well. The other thing that you're probably not going to easily find in your grocery store is curry leaves. There are other substitutes, though the substitute that I'm going to be using today is fresh basil. It gives a bit of pepperiness and that anise flavor that you're going to get with curry leaves. But just to kind of pep it up a little bit, considering it also says spices, and traditionally Sosaties are made with curry powder. We're also going to be using some curry powder in our mixture. However, we're not going to add that until I manage to pulverize everything in our food processor. But first, I need a crap ton of basil. I'm going to need about half a cup of torn basil to start out with. So I'm just going to grab a half a cup measuring cup, grab me some basil to start out with. And yes, I know this has gone a little dark on me, but it still should be very flavorful. So, tear all the basil, Strike Red Kite says. Yes, I will tear all the basil at some point. Some of it might end up being in some lemonade at a later point, or tonight, depending on how much lemon juice I have and patience I have, which we shall see, considering that not only am I making 2 recipes tonight, I'm photographing those recipes as well. So, we have basil. So now I'm just going to roll this up into a wee bundle. A wee bundle that looks like a wheat bundle. And yes, the D was silent in that word. Also, 2 weeks till Strike gets to come visit. Yay! Muppet Arms! Yes, yes, Strike, I need to organize a thing. Especially since it's not like I don't have any free time now. So, alright, we got some basil. And I said I was going to tear it. But now it's very strong now that I've wrapped it up in a wheat bundle. So, I'm just going to slice it into ribbons first because, quite honestly, it's going to get pulverized into mash anyway in the food processor. So, this just makes it a little easier to get that in there. Though I really, really like basil, so I'm going to do a little bit more than that. So, ladies and jelly spoons, get some leaves. Honestly, what's the difference? Plants. Leaves into that mix. Ha-bam. Wa-bam. Wa-bam-a-de-bam. Bam. Right. Bundle. Weird bundle. And yes, I know it looks like a weird bundle with the D being silent. So, chop, 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 chop. Chop. And you're thinking, oh, that's going to oxidize, it's going to turn all black and slimy. It's okay, it's going in the marinade anyway. You're not going to actually see this stuff in the photos. There we go, half a cup of basil leaves. I think that's all that goes in there, but I might be wrong. A derpader. Look at my own instructions. Okay, onion, garlic, cloves, basil in the food processor. Right. Yes. That's the initial thingy. Thing. Thing. All right. Lid. Camera. Well, camera. Then lid. And it'd help if I actually plugged the darn thing in, I'm sure. And on and stepping away, so that's not blocking up the microphone for you and being very, very loud. Instead, you get to listen to me with the faint rumble of my food processor going on background. No random bot. I do not want to buy followers. That kind of defeats the purpose. Okay. Alrighty. Thank you, Strike, for deleting that bot. See, I got a new Chromebook for the trip, and I've loaded 50 gigabytes of tabletop role-playing books so I can run anything. I need to check in with some friends to see if they might be up for, I don't know, Dresden Files game or something. Or, I guess maybe just vanilla D&D would probably be good, but, well... Or, ooh, I wonder if Katie would want to play Changeling the Dreaming. We shall see. Alright. So, now that that is all mashed and everything, I need to be adding my tamarind juice mix. So, in this particular case, what you're going to need is half a cup of lime juice. Well, you would either be doing about a cup of tamarind water or half a cup of lime juice, half a cup of water, where are you? Alright, I forgot to add the jam. That will be fine. Where did I write it down? 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. Tablespoons. 1. 2. And that is your tamarind juice replacement. Where did my apricot jam go? I actually remember to buy any. Got peach jam, that should work. Okay, so realistically, or traditionally, you would be using apricot jam for this. Peach does, however, have a similar flavor, so we're going to be doing that instead. Okay, good. It's still good. All right. So, 2 tablespoons of apricot jam. Or if you don't happen to have apricot because you forgot to buy some because you thought that you already had some in your fridge, peach also works. So, right, there's that. And then finally, for the weird thing I'm adding for this particular, what's it called, recipe. Mayonnaise. Why mayonnaise? Well, for one, mayonnaise is a pretty good marinade. As in, being a combination of oil and eggs, it helps that marinade kind of spread evenly over your meat and other ingredients. In this particular case, it's chicken, as well as adds a nice little bit of crispy caramelization when it happens to grill up. That's why we're using it. Also, I like to think that it thickens the marinade and adds a little bit, helps it cling a little bit better to the surface of the meat. So, where are we going? Where is my 3rd cup measuring cup? Is it back here? It's probably back here. Yes, here it is. So, trying to not cross-contaminate because we will be using the mayonnaise again for our remoulade, which the book describes it as a mixture of aioli and capers, though remoulade more traditionally is a mixture of mayonnaise, what's it called? Mayonnaise, capers, gherkin pickles, dill, mustard, and hot sauce. Sometimes. That is if you're doing a Cajun marinade. If you happen to be doing a French remoulade, it's more, sorry about that, by the way. More of a, how do I explain it? You just kind of leave out the hot sauce bits and spicy bits for it. This, however, uses curry powder, which we're going to be using about a tablespoon of, yes. Tablespoon is about 3 teaspoons, so I'm using a half teaspoon. You need about 6 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Just gonna give that a blend to make that into marinade. And I'm just going to lift that off of there for when I need it, which I will need it soon. But first, I need to cut up some chicken. So, let us switch back to our prep cam. Do a wee tad bit of cleanup. Now to open this can go in the fridge, as I desperately try not to trip over my cat. Hi, Princess. How are you? You want to say hi to everyone? No, I want Timken. I want chicken and bacon and beef and whatever you can give me, Mommy. Isn't that right? Isn't that right? And this is Ginger. She's my 22-year-old princess, for those who haven't been watching my stream before. You're your baby girl. That's right, you're my baby girl. I don't know if you can hear her on my mic right now, but she is purring up a storm. But also, because she's a little Miss Opportunistic, she likes to trip me in the kitchen in hopes that I'll drop something, as in, right, baby girl. Yeah. I love you. Okay, baby girl. Go find your daddy. Mom's got work to do. Where's my girl? Okay, there you go, baby girl. Right, chicken. So, ladies and jelly spoons, let's get on cutting our chicken. Chicken. First, I'm gonna need a carving board because I don't want all the nasty chickeny bits going over, well, everything. And I also, well, quite frankly, I've got other things to cut, not only with my remoulade, but also with my Vagrant's hot dish. So, we are going to try to keep this as sterile as possible. Yes, I will change out knives when needed. And what did this cover? Oh, right, that covered the lime juice, which I'll probably be adding to my drink in a wee little bit. So, after I step over my cat to get to my fridge, I'm going to need about 2 pounds of chicken breasts. Now, if you want to be true to the recipe and actually do, Cockatrice Sosaties, you would be using both alligator tail meat as well as chicken breasts. However, gator meat's expensive, and I just got laid off. So, we are opting for the less expensive and on sale proteins tonight. So, I'm going to need that. I'm also going to need, hi pretty girl, move, please move. I'm going to need a bowl, or, you can also use a Ziploc bag. Actually, I might just use the Ziploc bag because it provides better coverage, as well as the fact that I can throw it away. So, gallon-sized Ziploc bag or a mixing bowl with a lid. So, just kind of turn that top bit inside out so it remains open as you are putting things into it. There we go. I'm just going to grab me something to cut this with. So I can at least keep one hand clean. There we go. There's one. There's two. And let's go ahead and get this guy out too. Like I said, you want about 2 pounds of chicken breast meat for this dish. So, roughly about 4 chicken breasts. If you happen to be if you happen to have, American chickens available to you. Not that it matters. All right. So, I need to cut up these into about inch-sized pieces. Oh, that just popped right off. That can go in. So, I'm just going to be first cutting these into inch-thick strips, like so. Then, just kind of shift it, and then cut inch-sized chunks. And then just stick them straight into the bag or bowl, whichever one you happen to be using. There's one. There we go. Generally, you just want everything roughly around the same size because you want to be, since you're skewering these to grill them, you want everything to cook at the same amount of time. Go. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to work. I'm just gonna take that off, throw that away because I don't need it. Ooh, that's got a little bit of gristle on there. Just gonna quickly trim that off. There we go. Right. And last chicken breast. There we go. Now that that's all in the bag, just going to quickly get rid of that so you can see what I'm doing. Wash my hands, get all that raw chicken junk off of there. And that marinade that I made in the food processor earlier, well, it's called marinade for a reason. I mean, obviously. So, got a quick dry. Pull this to our center so you can see what I'm doing. And pour that directly into the bag to coat everything. Just put that in the sink, don't need it anymore. Seal it up, try to get most of the air out of it. All right, just kind of squeeze that, massage that around, let it coat, and I'm just gonna stick that into the fridge for at least a half an hour, or by the time I'm ready to start grilling. Does that mean you're gonna check out on me? No, that's not, because I'm cooking other things. I also need to make the remoulade for this, so I'm gonna go ahead and do that real quick for you actually. So, I'm just realizing that it was this dish that I did mortar and pestle with, not the next one. So, by the way, you're going to need a mortar and pestle for this. Next up, you're going to need, like I said, 2 cloves of garlic, peeled, lightly smashed, kosher salt. This is going to act a little bit as abrasion for us. Fresh mint, and you're going to need roughly, how much did I write down? Let's see, you're going to need roughly about a tablespoon of fresh mint. The mint in my garden has not been liking the sauna treatment that it's been getting for the past couple of days, so it's a little bit wilty, but it's still usable. I'm just going to pick off the leaves that are still good. Hey, I save money where I can. And I am not going completely traditional with this remoulade recipe. Were I to go to traditional, I would be using sweet gherkin pickles in addition to my capers. But I am not the biggest I hate gherkins, I just do. I hate gherkins, and my husband hates pickles in general, so since we are going to have to eat this, I hate wasting food. I mean, feel free to add about, I want to say, maybe a quarter cup of gherkins kind of crushed up or chopped up, but that's entirely up to you. For this, I'm wanting to incorporate a little bit more medieval flavor, considering this recipe really is more towards when aioli and mayonnaise were a thing, which is probably closer to the Victorian era than it would be the medieval era. But mint is used commonly in a lot of medieval herb sauces, so I figured that would be a good addition for this. And dill kind of gives that pickle flavor without, using pickles. So this is roughly about a tablespoon of mint leaves. I probably can get a few more out of this sprig here. Just adding this to a mortar and pestle. You can also chop this really finely, but honestly, I think that this really wakens up a lot more when it's all crushed together in a mortar and pestle like so. Next, I'm going to be adding some fresh dill, roughly about, I want to say, a tablespoon worth. Feel free to eyeball or, kind of go to your preference on this. Probably going to include some of this. He's in the picture, so I'm just going to take the freshest looking sprig I have and set it aside for my photos. And by aside, I mean back in the dish, back in the box. All right, let's get this in there. And there we go. All right. Stick all of that back in there. It will have a use, just not right now. I need my capers. Did I have that? No, I need to add my capers still. Where are you? Capers, capers, capers. They're right here. You're going to be needing about 2 tablespoons worth of capers drained. So, kind of drain some water. I'm gonna have to drain all the water. You can't just put this into a spoon, apparently. There we go. There's one. All right. So, mortar pestle. Just start mashing the crap out of that. There we go. It smells amazing. Going to add a touch more salt to help with the grinding process. All right. And while Remoulade doesn't traditionally use garlic, the description on Gallant Knights Games Tiny Taverns does mention aioli, which traditionally is a mustard made with garlic. So that's why we are using it in this dish, because since they didn't really describe a traditional remoulade, we are not going to do a traditional remoulade. So that is looking all lovely and smashed up. So now I'm going to be getting out probably the least pretty thing that you're going to see tonight, and that is a Tupperware container. Oh, let's use this guy. There we go. Because, frankly, I mean, let's be honest. Do you really need a pretty dish to put your mayonnaise in? Really? I mean, I'm sure when you actually get around to serving this, you can put it in a pretty dish for people to, you know, scoop out their own or have little side dishes. But since it's just me and my husband living here, this is going into a freaking container. So, where is that mayonnaise that I had opened and talked about earlier? Mayonnaise. Let's see, Aaron Smith says any culinary education. Where the heck is my mayo? Oh, right, I put it back in the fridge. Right, because I was trying to be all serve safe and everything. All right. Where has my brain gone? Well, apparently it's in the refrigerator with pretty much everything else. So you're going to be needing about a cup of mayo to start you out with. I already have a third of a cup dirty with mayo, so just going to use that again. So, there we go. 1/3. Two-thirds, roughly. And 3/3. Roughly. Ha, here we are. There we go. And bam. Just gonna let that soak for when I clean it all up later. Bam. Alright. So, what next? To that, you're going to be needing some apple cider vinegar and Dijon mustard, or stone ground mustard, whichever you happen to have. Either one should work fine, it just depends on how intense of a mustard flavor you want. So, here is a tablespoon. Gonna use that for vinegar. Merp. Merp. And my husband just signaled to me that he's going to be turning into Gandalf for a little while. And I can explain that to you if you would like. Alright, Dijon mustard. So, as you saw, I have a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, a tablespoon of Dijon mustard, and I'm just going to be scraping that whole lot of stuff into my bowl of stuff. It's compatible because it's both stuff. Or something to that degree. Alrighty. Mostly I just don't want to get mayo on my mortar. So it's going to make a very squeaky sound instead of a scrapey sound, which, considering scrapey sounds, are not the best. Not the best from my poor ears. Alright. Give that a rinse. Rinse and set it off to dry. Stay. Okay. So, now that I have my Remoulade ingredients together, I'm just gonna stir that like crazy. I think that's all I need. Yeah, that's all I need. I mean, I might need some more salt, and that's where tasting comes in. Right now, it's looking rather beautiful. But, quick way you can taste without contaminating, well, everything. Take a small bowl. Take a spoon. Spoon a little bit into that small bowl. Give that a taste. It's good, but probably do with a wee bit more salt. Just a pinch should do it, I believe. So, that's actually really good. I'm happy with how that turned out. So, get my salt. Add pinch. Give that a stir. And then refrigerate until you need it. So, that's also why we're making this so early before we start grilling, because then it allows it to chill, kind of reform a little bit, and let those flavors marry. So, into the fridge it goes. And that means I can get started on the other dish I'm making tonight, my Vagrant's hot dish, inspired by a video game Where the Water Tastes Like Wine. Now, I know I mentioned I would talk a little bit more about this game earlier, and, well, quite frankly, that's what we're doing. So, a hot dish, well, no, rewind. Where the Water Tastes Like Wine is based in Depression era, the Depression era United States, i.e. the 1920s and 30s, probably a bit more towards the 30s and around that time. Anyway, you play a vagrant who happens to be wandering the U.S. You happen to stop into a little house, end up playing a game of cards, and end up losing, making a bet and losing against essentially a devilish type character who gives you the task of wandering the entire country, collecting stories, telling stories, and watching those stories grow. It's a really cool game, even though it's mostly kind of a walking simulator, but I usually play game for story anyway. However, what I thought was pretty cool about this is that each city you stop in happens to have a number of local dishes that you can buy to kind of regain your health. I did find it interesting how many common dishes there were, but also what I found really interesting was that Minneapolis happens to have hot dish on the menu, which is, yes, it's a Minneapolis dish. However, it kind of evolved like stories, like, you know, most recipes tend to do, but hot dish in particular. Hot dish, well, the original recipe was from a Lutheran church cookbook in, I want to say, the 1930s, where it used a pound of ground beef, 2 onions, can of diced tomatoes, a can of tomato soup, macaroni noodles, oh god, what else? It was basically a kitchen sink of a dish, and that's not what it is today. Around the same time, Campbell's started releasing condensed soups, specifically the cream of soups like cream of mushroom, cream of chicken, cream of celery, but the most popular one at the time was cream of mushroom. So popular, especially for making hot dish instead of, well, tomato soup, that it's been termed as the Lutheran binder for hot dish recipes. Now, what you normally would see hot dish today is still that ground beef and vegetables, but it would normally be covered with tater tots. We're not doing that, though, because tater tots didn't really come around until the 1950s. And also, I wanted this dish to really, I want to say, reflect the game a little bit more, as you, the vagrant, are traveling. So, instead, I'm making a hot dish that utilizes ingredients from not only, well, what's traditionally thought of a hot dish, but also with ingredients from the different characters you meet, and also some of the stories that you happen to create, kind of giving it a chance to, like their stories, evolve into its own thing. So, now that I have chatted my butt off, let's go ahead and continue working on it. So, at one point in the game, you do happen to find a bunch of yams and cook them up. So, sweet potato. Sweet potatoes also, also keep really well on long journeys, so I figured that would probably be in a vagrant's bindle as he travels the continental US, in case he needed to throw it on the fire and mash it up and eat it. We're going to be doing a mixture of this with some garlic and green onions. The garlic and green onions coming from another one of the stories that you encounter in Where the Water Tastes Like Wine. A story of the Chinese chef who you help cook up this stir-fried dish made out of garbage. I mean, you are picking vegetable scraps out of the garbage, but a shadowy figure appears above the wok as he's cooking it, and the vegetables become whole again. As he cooks them in soy sauce and other things, and when asked what the name of his delightful dish is, he says, chop suey. So, we are going to be using those two ingredients as well. And my pretty new knife for my birthday. So I'm just going to get the ends off of that. We're going to dice this into about, I want to say about 1/2 inch dice. So for that, I'm going to need to make this easier to cut by cutting it into planks, which having it helps because then it provides a stable surface for you to slice right down about 1/2 inch thick planks like so. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be roughly even and it has to work. So now that I've created planks, I can create batons, like so. And then from there, I can dice. Bam. So, another ingredient we're going to be using, as I actually look at my darn recipe, which is over here. At one point, you actually meet a little hobo kid traveling with his dog, and he tells you how he really enjoys rice and beans, especially with some thick-cut bacon. So we're going to be using bacon and red beans in this dish as well. We're going to be topping it with cornbread because at one point you'll be meeting a Appalachian miner who offers to share his cornbread with you. And what else do I have in here? Oh, right. You also meet John Chapman, i.e. Johnny Appleseed, at one point. So we're going to be including an apple in the dish as well. And I think that's it. Yeah, I mean, of course we're going to be using the traditional diced tomato and ground beef. We're going to be using the, well, it's now traditional, though it wasn't at the time. Just do that. Yeah, not so traditional, but now it's traditional. Cream of mushroom soup. And we're going to be first cooking this all in a skillet, covering it, and then baking it for the remainder. Now, if you happen to have a cast iron Dutch oven, I would actually recommend that instead. But since it turns out the only cast iron Dutch oven I have is enameled and looks far too pretty to photograph as a Depression-era recipe, I'm going to be using a very large 12-inch cast iron skillet instead. It should be fine because I'll be able to put a lid on it. I do have metal lids, oven-safe lids, that will accommodate it as I put it in the oven and then take it off to crisp up the top. But the idea was that it's something that you could, if you happen to be a vagrant during the Depression era and you happen to be sharing your camp with a couple of other folks who have some other food supplies, you can make a dish to share for everyone and then thus evolve your time together by sharing that story of creation and collaboration. So, sweet potato is diced. Well, almost. Just this last little bit. And no, they did not pay me to say this. I kind of wish they did, but no, I just really enjoy this game. So, let me just grab a bowl to put that in. Doesn't have to be pretty, it just has to work. Mine just happens to be a little bit of both. I'm just doing this so it's easier for me to get everything a little bit later. So, there we go. Alright, So, other things we need to cut up. I need to cut up some green onions. You will need a bunch of scallions. And the way that we're going to do this is with the white parts and green parts separated. And as you can see, there's quite a bit more white parts than there are green parts. Some of this is going to act as, the green parts are going to act, you know, kind of flavor the dish itself. The rest of it is going to go on top as a garnish. Just gotta get that off of there. First, I'm just going to take off these little rooty ends here. There we go. And then get as much of the white part as possible. Right there. Yes, there's a little bit of green, but there you will be able to tell the consistency as you're preparing this. And I'm going to throw away some of the wiltier green parts that aren't going to work as well. Just chop off the back ends of those so they don't make this gross. There we go. Cool. So, now, just gonna slice these up as thin as possible, so. And these parts are a little stronger. They need to be broken down a little bit more. They kind of have sort of a flavor, similar flavor profile to garlic, which is why we want to add it when we at the same time as the garlic, which is why I'm also going to be slicing up that garlic and adding it directly to our white onions. Definitely slow down your slicing the closer you get to your fingers, just for safety's sake. There we go. All right, now time to slice up these green guys. Now, I usually prefer more of a bias cut, so what I usually like to do is kind of angle either the food or the knife. So let's just angle my knife. There we go. Actually, I could probably use a smaller dish than this. And that's what I'm going to do. Let's see, do I need that for anything else? No, I don't. So I'm going to put that bowl back and get a smaller dish for the green. Oh. Alrighty. Uh-oh, my little girl's crying. Check on my cat really quick. I mean, she could just want attention and food, or she could actually be hurt. So let me check on her. Baby girl, no, she can't hear me. It's us. Where's my pretty girl? She is looking for my husband. Hi, baby girl. What is it in my squeaker box? Huh? Is it Squeakerella? Squeaker Bell? Squeaker Doodle? My little pretty princess. Is it because Mommy's not feeding you? Yeah? Yeah? Is it, baby girl? Hmm? Yeah. That's my girl. I thought you. But I can't give you noms right now. Because all of those noms are toxic for baby girls. I love you very much. Yeah, okay, baby girl. There you go. Whew, now I have cat fur on my face. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see what other stuff needs to be prepped. That would be the garlic. Just cut off that little end there. So, just gonna give that a quick slice down. Slice. And kind of a rough mince. Yeah. Add that to the white parts of the green onions. Just so you can conserve a dish. I mean, if you really absolutely want to have a separate prep dish, sure, but you don't really need to. It goes in at the same time. That's why it's usually important to read a recipe in full before you cook it, because then you can see where you can save yourself some dishes. Now you absolutely do need clean dishes if you, to serve on, so before y'all sue me for unsafe serving practices. Okay. That was poor. My impatience got the better of me again. That happens. This is also why I don't usually make food that looks like things. It's like, wow, I spent all this time prepping and cooking this thing. Now you want me to decorate it? Are you 5? That's how I feel anyway. It's like, okay, staging, yeah. Decorating? No. You will eat that meal I gave you. Okay. And let's see. Let's go ahead and get some cans opened. Over here. And freak out my cats because they're thinking that it's probably some kind of wet food, which it's not, is tomatoes. Make sure the first can you open, by the way, if you have cats, is the one that they're probably going to like the least. That way they can sniff the lid and go, no, I'm not interested in that. As you saw, I not only opened, but I drained the tomatoes. So you don't need that excess liquid in there. I mean, you could, but don't. I wouldn't really recommend it. Okay, beans. The magical fruit, or the musical fruit. It can be both. So, once again, drain. Unless you happen to be making refried beans, and use all of that liquid because it thickens it up nicely. This, it just adds more liquid to my casserole when I don't need it. Okay. It's drained. I can go back in the fridge. And I'm realizing that I also need to preheat my oven to 350 degrees. And I need to take a quick picture of, oh, apple. That's what I'm missing. Like I said earlier, you encounter John Chapman. So we're going to be including an apple in our dish. So, just slice down the center like so. Next, just going to pop off the top and bottom. And then slice it into planks, about ½ inch thick, because we want it roughly the same thickness as the sweet potato. This also allows you to cut out the core, rather than having to do all those weird funky cuts that you see a lot of times. And, well, don't use one of those weird apple slicer things for this. It'll just hurt your head. There we go. I might be okay with my 10-inch deep dish cast iron for this, which I'm glad of, because it quite honestly looks a little bit better in photos. So we're going to be using that instead, I think. Because this will all cook down. I mean, it looks like a lot now, but all of it will shrink while cooking. Alright, cool. I'm just going to get a photo of this because I think it looks pretty cool. After all, this is one of my blog post recipes. And I got my storage cart in there, right? Yes, I do. Awesome. No flash. Keep on forgetting it turns itself on. So ever since I got my full frame DSLR, I've just been using automatic mode on this one. Because when cooking, you don't necessarily have time to sit and make adjustments. And, I mean, I'm not one of those bloggers that likes to, you know, do the whole spoon over something while it pours out, and there's knowing who the heck has time for that. It's like you're gonna have to make a whole new dish, just waiting, like, to get that shot right. So, just don't. Okay, so I've got all my veggies ready to use. So I'm just gonna move the stuff I've already prepped over here. And if I have one more thing to cut, it's gonna be my cornbread. You're gonna need about, I want to say about 2 cups of cornbread. We'll cut up. I made 2 pans just in case, but I think that's probably all I'm gonna need. You know, if you just use the Jiffy box of cornbread, that should be enough to coat your hot dish. I originally wrote this to have potato chips in as well, but guess what I forgot to pick up at the grocery store? So, I leave it up to you whether you want to include potato chips on top of your hot dish or not. So, let's just get one of the rounds of cornbread that I baked up yesterday. And hope that it is enough. I know my husband really was craving some cornbread after I was baking this. Alrighty. There we go. Oh, also, big tip if you happen to be making cornbread for this recipe. If you're using the Jiffy Box, follow the instructions, especially when it says to let it proof in the pan for about 3 to 4 minutes after mixing up the batter and putting it into the pan, because it'll give you that really nice even rise, as opposed to, you know, if you just happen to, brain, just bake it as soon as it's in the pan. So, all right, got that. I'm gonna cut this into about inch thick cubes, because it's about an inch thick. I want to cube it. There we go. So, just excuse me, I actually have had my allergies kicking me in the face all day. The mold levels in Atlanta are pretty high. I'm just going to cut these up and have them available. And if not, they're going on as a side for my Sosaties. Go. Just pile it up. I think I'll just have a cube. Looks good. But dry. A moment. Okay. I can speak again. Alright. What was I doing? Oh yes, I was cooking. Right. Last few things you're going to need for this dish are a pound of ground beef. Oh no. Not green beef. Please don't use green beef for that. That's disgusting. A pound of ground beef, which is not green. And you're going to need some bacon. We're going to be using about 4 strips. We might use more. We'll see. We're also kind of using this as sort of a cooking fat for my dish, which, let's go ahead and get our camera swapped around and pointing at my skillet. Let's see. Let's get that all lined up. And if you'll excuse me real quick, I need to blow my nose because allergies suck. Yeah, one moment. I'm just going to mute. Alright, and we're off mute. So, I know I said that I was going to use my big 12-inch skillet, but honestly, I think that's going to be too large. So, I'm going to be using my 10-inch skillet, but not this guy. This guy's only about 1 inch deep. You're going to want to go for about 1.5 inches deep, like this guy right here, which was also a birthday gift from my husband last year. It has my logo on it. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite things ever. Because I've gotten to the point where I think I just use cast iron for pretty much everything. So, alright, first I'm going to need to preheat my pan to make sure it's hot enough to cook my bacon. So, I'm just going to put it onto medium heat and put a timer for about 3 minutes on my bacon. Sorry, on my skillet. Next, I need to get my bacon out. So let me just grab a bag. So put that package in once I'm done using it. Let's go. And that is the sound of my oven telling me that it's hot enough for me to bake this once this is cooked. So, bacon. Hot pan, which I am waiting on. And I haven't decided whether I'm going to go with 4 strips of bacon or 6 strips of bacon. I might go with 6. Also, maybe if I put some... Yeah, maybe if I do about 6 strips, I can then put some chopped up bacon on top. Yeah, let's do that. In the meantime, I also need a plate to dry my bacon on. Some paper towels. Just set that up so it's ready to go. There we are. And I should put the exhaust fan on my stove because otherwise it's gonna get a wee bit greasy in here. Don't want that. So, right. This might end up actually being about 4 cups of cornbread. We shall see. Steal another cube. Cornbread and tequila go surprisingly together. I know it shouldn't be surprising, but that's good. Alrighty. We're less than a minute left on that. Whew, boy. Yes, doing the thing. And I should also, while I'm waiting, take the time to cube up my ground beef so it's ready to go. And hopefully make sure not to drop the whole package in this time. Yes, that happened last time I used ground beef. That was fun. Trying to get little bits of styrofoam out of the pan. As in it wasn't fun at all. Okay, it sounds like my pan is hot enough to start my bacon on it. Okay, I'm just gonna... Oh yeah, that's smoking hot. Which means I need to get that bacon on there. So, let's start out with however much I can fit in, which would be about 2. Oh boy. Okay. Okay. Whew. Where are you, towel? There you are. Alrighty. Let me get that pan for the camera. There we go. Looking good. Probably should have used a different board for the cornbread. Is there something else in this dish? Right, that was... I don't remember. It's going in the sink. Okay. Right. Just want to get that good and crispy. Probably taken out now. And let's get the other three on there. Eh. Alright. There's one. There's two. And there's three. I am not touching that. Quite a bit of bacon fat. I'm going to drain a bit of that off once I get to, once I finish cooking those. I've got a bacon saver that'll just go right in, bacon fat saver that'll go just right into. Make sure to save your bacon, rendered bacon fat. You can use it for cooking, you can use it for, as a substitute for butter and cookies. Quite excellent. Okay. How are we doing on that? Alright. Yeah, that's probably done. Well, a little bit longer. Alright, there we go. Okay. Just gonna pour this guy into this thing. I hope I don't get bacon fat all over the place or burn my hands. Alrighty. Alright. Cool. And I can put that guy in the fridge. Whew. Once I wipe it off. Alright. Just to make sure it doesn't get knocked over. Should be fine. Alright, now that it's hot again. I'm gonna add my ground beef. Now, I'm using is actually ground chuck because it's about 80-20. 80% lean, 20% fat. Which is normally what you tend to find in burgers, most burgers these days. That, and since we also get quite a bit of grease from the bacon, I didn't want to go too crazy with the fat content, because, like I said, it can get pretty darn greasy if you're not careful. All right. Going to add a touch of salt to that. And by touch, I mean pinch. There we go. And by adding the beef in chunks like that, you tend to get a little bit more crusty bits than just it turning kind of gray, which tends to happen if you just break up all of that ground beef too early. So I'm just letting that cook a little bit to get a bit of crispiness. And you see it's releasing enough fat as well that once I add my vegetables, it's going to cook those vegetables in that fat. Sorry. Like I said, allergies. All right. Let that continue to cook some. And dry off my bacon. See how that beef is doing. Oh, that's looking good. Probably should have gone for the larger one, but I think we'll be okay. Okay. Now what did I mark down to put next? But first, a photo. Okay. Okay. Stir in sweet potato and apple. I should have gone with the larger skillet. That'll be fine. Set the timer for about 4 minutes. In the meantime, I'm going to switch out pans. But first, I need that other pan to be hot enough. So, I'm just going to preheat this guy, the large skillet here, for about, well, 3 minutes. Once that is done with that bit, this skillet will be hot enough to add the entire contents of that skillet to, and then I can just switch things over and switch burners. There we go. Whew. Problem solving and whatnot. Let's see. Ooh, okay. Actually, yeah. Actually, I don't need to do that. Believe it or not. I just remembered. I need to mix, like, when I actually add those canned items, I'm going to have to take the skillet off the heat anyway, so I can just transfer everything to that skillet. There we go. Progress. So, stir this around a bit. About a minute and a half left on that. What was I doing? Yes. Yes, indeed. It might actually be okay. I probably shouldn't tempt fate, considering that that would also probably spill over if I'm not careful in the oven. Especially with the excess liquid in here. Now we got the green onion, white parts as well as the garlic. I'm just going to add that to that with another pinch of salt. And I'm going to cook that for a total of 60 seconds. But I do want to get a picture of that because that looks good. was blurry. Okay, cool. Yeah, that looks like it's still going to overload the skillet if I add my canned items, so just going to shut that off and transfer the whole lot to my large skillet. And give this guy a rinse. Get all that beef and bacon fat off of. There we are. All right. Throw these little apple pieces that fell off away. Okay. So, see that guy right there? It's gonna be my baking vessel. So, just gotta give that a stir. Then I need to add my 14.5 ounce can of diced tomatoes. My 15.5 ounce can of red beans, dark red kidney beans. Oh yeah, I definitely needed this size from the look of things. About 3/4 of those green onions that we sliced up earlier. Just so you have enough to garnish the dish with later. And that also looks really cool, so I'm going to get a picture of that. Okay. Then, we still have bacon we need to chop. So, I've got that big old plate of cooked bacon here. I'm just gonna see if I can crunch it up. No, I'm gonna have to chop it. Damn. Alright. Chop that up. Right. And once again, just like with the green onions, we're only going to be using about 3/4 of that. So, oh, Ginger, got a little piece of bacon that fell on the floor for you. Okay. Make sure I don't have any paper mixed in with all of that. Ooh. Okay. Yeah. That's going to go in with the green onions I'm holding in reserve for the garnish. The rest of it is going to go there, either on the floor for my cat or into the pan like so. Give that a stir. Okay. Then we're going to use what we call the Lutheran binder, i.e. cream of mushroom condensed soup. A single can should be enough, but I am paranoid, so I have 2 just waiting in case I need it. Might need more though, so. A lot of times with my recipes, I admit, I write down what I'm basically going to do and then make notes as I go, because I really hate cooking the same thing twice for one post. I feel like, even though yes, it's food, yes, we're going to eat it, at the same time, I'm wasting time and money. So if I make notes as I go, I can kind of see where I went wrong and go back and change it if needed. But this might actually be enough. Oh yeah, that is looking pretty perfect actually. So, that, and there's still juices left in that apple, those apples and tomatoes. So that will kind of simmer the sweet potatoes more, make them a little bit more pliable. And the cornstarch in the soup should also kind of act as a nice little binder for this. So, just gonna get that in. It's left of that in there. Cool. Whew. Now that I have that, I can cover it up with cornbread. So. That should equal about 4 cups of cornbread. There we go. Just gonna get a quick picture of that before I cover it and stick it in the oven. Towel. Here we are. Okay. Just gonna find the lid. It's large enough, and it's also oven safe. The this guy right here. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Oven mitts. Where'd the other one go? Here we are. All right. Whew. I'm realizing. Oh, that's not good. You take a rack out of here, or just lower it. We'll just lower it. There we go. All right, and then just bake it for 20 minutes covered. Let's check on it then. Cool. Just clean off my cast iron real quick. Whew. And turn off the fan for a little bit because we are about to work on our Sosaties. I know, finally, right? So. Cool. Let's, I realize that what I need to do is I need to get some water boiling for this next bit. So I'm just gonna get some water. We're probably fine going around 180 degrees. 179. Because you need to soak your dried apricots before skewering them. So we're just gonna clear off our workspace as we get ready for that. Okay. Oh goodness. Let's hope this goes up to the right spot. There we go. Oh, all the cornbread crumbs. I'm okay. Whew. Stupid allergies. All right. All right, so you need to measure out your dried apricots. We're just going to use the same measuring cup that we used for the cornbread. Just going to give that a rinse. So you're going to need about, how many? About a cup of dried apricots, preferably pitted. Sorry. Let me mute that for a second because you don't need to hear. All right, and we are back off mute. So, don't need that. Go to the sink. Let's open up our dried apricots. Come on. There we go. So, a cup. Go. And it looks like our water is hot enough. Just a few degrees away. I freaking love dried apricots. Cool. So I'm just gonna pour enough water to cover these guys. Maybe about a ½ inch to an inch over. And I'm just going to set this off to the side to soak for about 15 minutes. Which, timer, 15 minutes. Cool, which means our vagrants hot dish actually should be ready for me to take the lid off in about that amount of time. Cool. All right. And let's see. Did I actually remember to have enough garlic in my... No, I didn't. Too late now. They're not gonna know the difference. Let's see. I'm curious to look. Well, I guess it's doing its thing. Just a quick wipe down here. Clean some things off while I am waiting. I'll also need to get my prep board ready to go for skewering all this stuff. So, just put this aside. Do I need to cut anything more? No, I don't. Okay. That means some of this can go away. Mint. Oh, that really does look pathetic. The mint will help refeed the earth. These guys can go in the fridge for now. I need so. Just gonna get the meat out of the fridge, as well as all this meat that I've been marinating earlier. And by now, it should have been marinating for probably about an hour at this point, which I'm realizing I'm 10 minutes away from my, what's it called? My usual show time, but that's okay because we are actually right up at the point where we're going to be skewering and then grilling these guys. So, just get on that. Let me just get a carving board. You know it's a carving board because it has a little ridge around the edges. Let's just put this away so I don't get food on it. Well, technically any more food that I've already put on it in the past. Just kind of stick this over here and take care of it in a little bit. How am I doing on volume? Okay, good. It's still going. I have not tested this microphone to the full extent of how long it takes for the battery to die, but so far I like the fact that it hasn't given me any trouble yet. Knock on bamboo. Let's see. I am a little curious. Can you bake it? Probably should have put more moisture in that. We'll see. Alright. Ooh. That's where the... Oof. That's the last bit of lemonade powder at the bottom. Nope. Switching to maid. Alrighty. So, because this is a lot of meat, I might not actually grill all of it up. I might grill up some of it, just so I have enough for photos, and then grill up more of it maybe tomorrow for dinner. Which is fine, because then it allows this to marinate even more and get even more flavorful. In fact, I highly recommend that you marinate this, marinate your chicken, and especially if you're including gator tail, for at least 24 hours. You could go up to 3 days, but just for the sake of this episode, we did about an hour marinade. Speaking of time, we got about 10 minutes left on that thing. I've got a glass of mead. And trying to think of things to say and do while waiting. Oh, I still have more. I'm not mixing that with that. But yeah, I got this the other day when I was speaking of mead. It was National Mead Day in Viking Alchemist Meadery, which you've seen them on the stream before if you've been keeping up with my stream. They had a big thing with food truck and a bunch of local vendors, and they had a blacksmith there. I mean, he wasn't smithing at the time, but he was selling a bunch of stuff. Managed to get this skewer here from him for about $5. I thought it would look perfect for photos, so I've got that to do some of my skewering tonight. I also have these guys, which are, you know, obviously a little less characteristic, but, you know, they'll still work. Still have about 10 minutes left on the thing. Let me see how we're doing these guys. That's a lot of meat. We'll do about, after these apricots are done soaking, we'll do about half of them, I think. We'll see how long it takes to make these up. That, like I said, that is a lot of meat. So, marinated chicken. Just waiting. And now, I'm just gonna check on the hot dish. I'm not sure if that's actually baking or not. Huh. Maybe I should have put some liquid in there. It's not really doing anything. It might be a more than a 20-minute dish, come to think of it. Maybe if I do about 45 minutes, that'll work. Anyway, back to cooking. Kind of want to drain those off before I start touching the chicken. We'll see how this will work. In the meantime, I need to find my grill pan. That's right, I do not actually have a grill inside my kitchen. That would be awesome. I don't have enough room. So we're going to be using a grill pan because I'm basic. And it's also 9 p.m., so we wouldn't have enough light anyway to go outside and actually use the grill. Because yes, believe me, lighting is a thing. Just gotta wait for apricots to soak. Should have done this earlier. That's right, I make up random songs. That's closed, it can go back. That's closed, it can go in the fridge. Lime juice. To keep myself from snacking on capers because I'm that weirdo. Okay. Mead. Ooh. So yeah, I know that I'm streaming Monday night rather than Wednesday. I'm still going to try to go for Wednesday this week. We shall see. It'll probably end up being closer to Thursday or Friday, just because I need time to actually write the recipe. So the next recipe, next week, when I'm going to be making, not next week, next episode, I'm going to be making a trio of trumpets from Volo's Guide to the Dale Lands, I believe it's. If you've never played Dungeons & Dragons before, there is a main setting called the Forgotten Realms setting that are used for, I mean, traditionally, it's not the first setting that Dungeons & Dragons used, but it's the most popular one. But the Bard Volo has written a bunch of books, his Volo's Guides, which are kind of like a travel guide to the Forgotten Realms, where I want to say that it's basically a bunch of inn, tavern, and shop reviews of cities and villages all over the Sword Coast, the Dale Lands, the setting of Baldur's Gate 2. Oh gosh, what's another one? But they are just full of so many menu items. They are no longer in print. However, I managed to find PDFs through Google. If I can find them, you can find them. I'm not going to tell you where because I don't want to get in trouble and I don't want I don't want the resources to disappear, but you can find them. They were published, I want to say, in the early to mid 90s, somewhere around there. And they just provide so much flavor text. And while they technically were second edition Dungeons & Dragons, you don't necessarily need to be playing second edition to use them as a resource, because it is mostly a lot of flavor text and adventure text that's easily convertible to 5th edition. So if you happen to be going through, say, the city of Baldur's Gate, or Neverwinter, or Waterdeep, or anything like that, and your character is like, well, what's good around here? Where can I go shopping? You don't necessarily have to make stuff up, because it's all there for you. And there are little adventure hooks listed in there as well. But yeah, one of the dishes is called a trio of trumpets, where it's these cone-shaped crackers that have been filled with a mixture of, I want to say, goat cheese, dried fruit, and olives. I need to take another look at the actual description, because I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. And then the week after, well, technically next week, I'll be making this kind of tea-soaked cake based off of Pathfinder's I want to say Heaven's Mountain or Heaven's Gate, like city. It's from a genie's tea shop, but I will probably have a guest on the show with me there. I just need to recheck with them to see if they're up to being on the show. After that's Dragon Con, which I'm still on the fence whether I'm attending. I might just pick up my badge, see what's going on. If I feel safe enough to wander, I will, but if not, I might be spending most of the weekend at home, which will suck, but it's better than getting COVID and then taking COVID to Gen Con. Don't need to do that. So, right. We are 2.5 minutes left on that soak, which means I don't care anymore. I'm just going to go ahead and pour out the water. And let's start making some skewers. So, just gonna get about half of these guys in here, so I don't contaminate the leftover apricots. Well, what am I kidding? It's all going on the same thing anyway. Derpadur. Do I have room to put that skillet once it has come out? I will make room. So yeah, it's also coinciding other things. I'm just gonna make a wee bit of room in case I need it. Cool. All right, let's get going. So skewer. Let's get a piece of chicken on there. Just gonna do two pieces and then an apricot, and then just kind of alternate. Be okay with 2 pieces of apricot in between slices. We shall see. Actually, I think I might do that on the next one. Just gonna, yeah. So, let's do okay, that is yelling at me, so I'm just going to check the oven really quick to see if I need to take that cover off, though I might not. check the moisture on that. So I think it could probably use a bit more. Seems to be doing okay, but I think it could definitely use another 10 minutes before I take that lid off. Cool. All right. Bag slightly, so in case I have to put this back in the fridge. It's not too contaminated. There we go. Let's get another piece of chicken or two on the end of that. There we go. And I'm gonna go ahead and get this guy skewered up. Some better looking piece of chicken on there. Yeah, like this one. That's a good looking piece right there. I'm gonna get some of the bigger apricots here. And just one more piece of chicken on that guy. Meeny, miny, you. Yeah, that's looking good. Cool. Let's get some more skewered up. think after this skewer I could probably give it a rest on some of it. Or, you know, hang on to the meat and pour out the remaining marinade. Blend what's left with coconut milk, and then I have a pretty excellent curry. Oh wait, no. Apricots first. Come on. There we go. Strips in here. I was kind of hoping for chunks. Might actually be better for a curry. Well, let's see what I can find at the very least. I can find substantial enough pieces to skewer on here. There we go. Think that's all I'm gonna do for tonight. So let's get that grilled up. Right. So I just need to preheat that grill pan first. Yeah. Just gonna do a quick medium preheat for about 3 minutes. Probably doesn't need that long because this is an aluminum pan rather than cast iron. I'm just gonna check on my hot dish real quick. It smells excellent. All right. Hi, Ginger. I'm gonna toss what's left of these apricots. Hi, pretty girl. How are you? Have you found the bacon yet, princess? That's right, there's treasure on the floor. Treasure in the form of bacon. Okay. Let's just seal that up. And put that back in the fridge, where later this week, I may make it into a rather delicious curry. Especially if I add some vegetables to that. I might do that next episode. Okay. So is there heat on this? Okay. All right. Guess it's not too messy right now in here. I've had worse, trust me. check on that casserole. Oh yeah. So I'm just gonna cook that uncovered for a little bit. About 10 minutes. Okay. Not quite hot enough. Where's that pencil? Hi, Princess. Did you find the bacon? All right. So, just need to make a few quick updates on my casserole. So it's a 10.5 ounce. A 15.5 ounce. 14.5 ounce. One diced bunch. 14.5 ounce. Cool. All right, should be hot enough now for me to grill these Sosaties. So, all right. And do that about 5 minutes on each side. Whew. There we go. Cool. Not gonna lie, it smells beautiful in here. No, I didn't know something could smell beautiful either, but it smells beautiful. Just take my word for it. Ooh, goodness. And I'm just going to grab a clean plate to put those on once they're done. And I realize I should have the vent hood on. Realized that a little too late, I think. Whew. What was I doing? Alright, cleaning up. Just gonna grab another pair of tongs. Huh. Take a quick look at my casserole. Okay, almost there. Less than a minute left. Just waiting. Seven, 6. Oh, nice. 4, 3, 2, and oh, that's looking pretty. Oh, come on. There we go. Go with 4 minutes on the other side. Pan's a little hot. Not gonna lie though, that looks excellent. All right. Whew. I'm not gonna lie, it's very hard for me not to eat this right now, other than, you know, it's cooking. I will say curry is one of my favorite meals ever. So I'm like, my kitchen smells of chicken and curry and I want to eat it. Okay, about less than a minute left on our hot dish. So I'm just gonna assume that it's done. Oh yeah, that's definitely done. So I'm just gonna move that from the oven Ooh. Cool place. Check on these guys. I think we're okay. That, yeah, this looks good to me, actually. So, I'm just gonna transfer those to our plate. Just give great another spray of oil. Check on it in about 4.5 minutes. I'll check on it in 4 minutes. That should be enough time. But, so you probably want to see what this looks like. Let's go ahead and move this right there. Doesn't that look pretty? Oh. I'm very excited on how this is going to taste. So I'm just going to grab the Remoulade out of the fridge. Just gonna, my toothpicks went off too. Just grab this little piece of chicken. Oh, that did not work how I wanted it to. Use it a fork instead. This little piece of chicken here. That is freaking fantastic. Oh my gosh. Heck yeah. Definitely making these again. Holy crap. How we doing on these guys? Alrighty. Whew. Here's hoping. Meantime, how's my hot dish looking? Well, cornbread is definitely crunchy, but I think that I kind of wish I could reach the camera over there. Well, I'm about to get a photo of it anyway. 1.5 minutes left. Just gonna snack on some apricots while I'm at it. 3 minutes like we did earlier. Whew. All right. Yeah. Here's the finished hot dish. I mean, I know it looks kind of not the most interesting, like colorfully looking in the world, but when I'm gonna take a photo of it, I'm gonna be taking a scoop out of it. It's gonna be garnished with this bacon and green onion here. So it's really gonna make the photos look a lot more interesting than just, you know, a skillet full of brown stuff. Because, I mean, you gotta face it, a lot of stuff that's, like a lot of food items, some of the most delicious dishes you'll probably ever have, is basically a plate of mush. I know we eat with the eyes first, so it is difficult trying to figure out how to do plating. You do it enough, though, it looks fantastic, but otherwise, plates of mush are freaking delicious. And I can say that as a child of Midwesterners. All right, how are we doing on that? Just gonna give this a quick check. Check-a-rooski. I think that's, for the most part, done. Doesn't help that I have a bit of buildup on my grill, so that's kind of affecting how things are looking right now. But I'm pretty sure we're about done. Yeah. That and this will also continue to cook as it cools. So, there we go. Awesome. Oh, lost a piece of chicken. That. Yeah, that's cooked enough. For the most part. I'll probably go for another minute. Just one more, or rather 45 seconds more. There we go. There we go. Just because I'm paranoid. Do not want to give myself food poisoning. Five, four, three, two, one. There we go. Oh yeah. All right. We'll have to give that a more thorough soak later. But right now is not later. So, grilled cockatrice Sosaties with remoulade. that popped off earlier. On there. Okay. That was well worth it. I would like to thank you for joining me on tonight's episode of the Gluttonous Geek Presents Munchies and Minis. Tonight's recipe was for grilled Cockatrice Sosaties with Remoulade from Gallant Knight Games Tiny Taverns, an RPG where you basically get to run your own fantasy tavern with your friends and coworkers. Coworkers in the game, not in person. Though, you know, if you really like to play tabletop role-playing games with your coworkers, I'm not going to stop you. You can find this recipe in a few weeks on my blog, thegluttonousgeek.com, or if you are interested in cooking some recipes from Tiny Taverns earlier, I already have 2 recipes on the blog, one for, spicy hippogriff wings and cave slime compote. Both very good, both very much Gallant Knight Games approved. This upcoming episode, which will probably be either Thursday or Wednesday night, I haven't decided, I still need to write said recipe, is going to be a trio of trumpets, which is crackers filled with, cone-shaped crackers filled with goat cheese and walnuts and something else. I can't remember quite what it is. Anywho, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I will see you later this week or next week. And as always, stay safe, stay sane, stay you. My name is Catherine Barson-Eastis, and you've been watching the Gluttonous Geek Presents Munchies and Minis. Have a great night.